Jodi Arias, Ezra McCandless, Shayna Hubers. All three of these young ladies have one thing in common, and it's a trail of destruction. I'm always fascinated to look at cases like this to try and figure out what made them tick, what made them eventually break and go off. Now, we've discussed two of these cases on this channel way back when, but today we shall be discussing the case of Shayna Hubers. Hello everybody and welcome back to the sofa. That's the sofa back there with our trusty sidekick, Mr. Roscoe P. Coltrane, and my name is Paul. Thank you for joining. We've kept the seat cushions nice and warm for you. First off, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who makes the channel possible. The top tier Patreons, special shout out to y'all, the channel members, and everybody who hangs out in the comment section talking with me, talking about the victim stories as well as these cases, and keeping the victims' memories alive, as well as the doors open and the cushions fluffed for the Sofa Squad. The channel wouldn't be here without you. Now also, let's make a little bit of room back there on the sofa for today's sponsor. They also are helping keep the doors open and the cushions fluffed. Are you keeping up with those New Year goals that you promised yourself? Well, HelloFresh is here to help you stay on track with your goals and a healthy diet by delivering fresh ingredients and easy recipes right to your door. They're going to take the hassle out of dinner time. HelloFresh now has over 40 weekly recipes to choose from, so you can say bye-bye to your recipe rut and treat yourself and your family to exciting new flavors every week. Recently, I've been trying to save money and have really been leaning into HelloFresh and trying to avoid eating out, takeout, all those expensive things that we all are guilty of doing. And I have completely noticed a difference, not only in my waistline, but also my bank account. And besides the fact that these meals are affordable, they're like restaurant quality. And plus, they're made right in your own kitchen. And that's quicker than any delivery. And you're only going to find quality ingredients in HelloFresh recipes. In fact, the ingredients travel from the farm to your home in less than 7 days, so you know it's going to be fresh. Another thing I do is I find some of my favorite meals by HelloFresh, but I'll jazz them up along the way by swapping proteins or sides or even adding a protein to a veggie dish. And now you can even upgrade to organic chicken or organic ground beef. HelloFresh has it on lockdown when it comes to customizing the meals to your likings and preferences. Fast and fresh recipes, that's HelloFresh's latest line of meals. These feature robust flavors, filling portions, and y'all, they're ready in like 15 to 20 minutes. You cannot beat it. You're going to enjoy the taste and quality done quick with recipes like falafel power bowls, seared steak and potatoes, or Southwest pork and bean burritos. Y'all, it is amazing. From calorie smart or carb smart to veggie or family friendly, you'll always find something even the pickiest eaters are going to enjoy. So go ahead, give it a try, and also let me know what your favorite meals are so I can try those out too. Go to HelloFresh.com and use code ReportingLiveFromMySofa 65 for 65% off plus free shipping. Go to HelloFresh.com and use code ReportingLiveFromMySofa 65 for 65% off plus free shipping. Alright, so be sure to check out their stuff down below. All the stuff is in the description below. Give them a shot. Now, let's go ahead and jump in, but before we do, just remember that these are just my opinions. I'm not a doctor, I ain't a lawyer, I ain't none of that fancy stuff. I'm just a guy with a sofa, a dog, and a few opinions on true crime. Now, let's do a quick recap of this case. Let's talk about who is who, what's going on, so that we're all on the same page for those who might not be familiar. Okay, so Shayna Huber. So she, from a very early age, had this like obsessive type personality, but it wasn't with bad things at first, right? It was with good things, with school, with grades. She was like mostly in AP classes, getting all A's, really good grades all the way even into college, graduating with, honors, all this crazy stuff, right? Even some of her friends considered her to be near genius, and even Shayna herself considered herself to be a near genius, as we'll hear from some of her acquaintances acquaintances later on. But here's the thing, all of that would change with a Facebook friend request that came from a very handsome young man in 2011. And that man's name was Ryan Poston. So there was this like immediate chemistry between the two. He's this 28-year-old lawyer, very good looking. She is this 19-year-old University of Kentucky, very good looking, very smart young lady. But here's the thing. So Ryan, he's just out of a relationship with this other woman, and pretty quickly it seemed like he lost interest with Shayna. Also, hearing from people like, his cousin and other acquaintances, it became very apparent that he was looking at this as more of like a casual relationship. They did not live in the same town. They lived far apart. This was more like just a casual type thing. But not for Shayna. This was like, oh no, 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 no. We taking this boy to the altar. And the sad thing is that the more he would try and pull away from this scenario, the more she would try to gain control over him. Now, this whole thing lasted like 18 months long, and friends would describe it as just this very toxic, on again, off again kind of a thing. And literally obsessed was a word that a lot of people used to describe how she was with him. Now, friends would say that Ryan would say that she was like the craziest person he'd ever known. But now on the flip side, like other people like his neighbor would say that he was always making comments about her appearance and felt like he was playing mind games with her. If you ask me to weigh in on what kind of comments I found the most of, it was she was obsessed. He was trying to get rid of her, although he didn't really know how to. It was like this on again, off again thing. He would keep things going because she would get manipulative with him, and it would get weird and toxic, so he would just like go along with it. It just sounded like a doomed situation from the start. But here's the thing. Not many people think situations like this are going to end in the way that this did. But all of this obsession, all of this would overflow on October 12th. Now, this will also go into what we might describe as what is a motive. And now what we're going to talk about very briefly is two words here for motive: Miss Ohio. But it's not just Miss Ohio's fault as to what happened. Consider her the straw that broke the camel's back type situation. So October 12th, 2012, Ryan was planning to go on a date with Miss Ohio. Her name was Audrey Bolt. But he was getting ready to leave his apartment, and guess who shows up? Miss Shayna. She's unannounced, not supposed to be there, and what ends up happening is they get into an altercation, and she ends up shooting him 6 times. Now, that will bring us to the first part of the bizarre behavior that we're going to be examining in this video. Let's talk very quickly about that 911 phone call. In fact, let's just let it speak for itself very quickly.
County 911. Ma'am, I killed my boyfriend in self-defense.
Alrighty, so yes, the old I'm calling 911 and immediately telling them it was self-defense method. Yeah, that never goes over well, Miss Shayna. Now, as you can imagine, this would quickly lead to them bringing her to the station to have a little conversation about what took place. And what we're going to do now is we're going to look at a few what I consider to be highlights of that. Her debut, if you will. It's giving Jodi Arias, it's giving handstands, it's giving yoga poses, but in Shayna's own way. So let's take a few moments to look at a few clips of this interrogation. Now you might be like, Paul, why'd you play that really quick clip? What was she doing? Was she crying? Was she this? And she wasn't crying, I can tell you that much. That was her little rendition of a song, but you're going to get to hear the full version. That was just like a little palate tasting to keep you interested. Let's look at a few other things first.
I believe. Yeah, I do. I believe.
It's almost like she makes their job easy for them. Now, again, I've kind of broken some of this up because, it ain't looking good for her. But as we'll see later, when she decides to take the stand in her second trial, she'll try and talk her way out of all this.
You said you're just an elderly from Kentucky. And I am. Yes, I. It's the elderly came out of me.
Now, one thing that's interesting about this right here and that we'll see in here, she does have some diagnoses and stuff like that. Now, I am not excusing that by any means as to say, oh, so she gets past on what she did at all, right? But as we'll see her interviews and stuff, you can see beneath the surface where it's like, this is an extremely fragile human being. And so I watched this, as well as like some other parts where she's, doing an interview we'll watch later and whatnot. I'm just trying to imagine her in a relationship having a difficult conversation or being told in general something she doesn't want to do. You know how you see these viral TikToks of like people melting down in public? 100% this woman.
He was throwing me around the room, like picking me up and like had my face and stuff.
He totally had my face, junk stuff, okay? Now, the funny thing is, not really funny or whatever, is, again, on her second retrial where she takes a stand, she will try and, say that she didn't have the verbiage for this. She was like, I didn't have the correct verbiage to actually say here instead that he had my ponytail and was bashing my head and I thought he was going to break my neck. And I'm like, yeah, that's a far cry. Now, number one, remember, this is like some genius girl who's trying to say that she didn't have the verbiage here. Now, granted, you would be in a little bit of shock. I get this. But as we'll hear from other people, including her cellmates, homegirl knew what she was doing.
Then I couldn't stand to watch him twitch. I knew he was going to die or have a completely deformed face. He's very vain and wants to get a nose job. Just that kind of person. And I shot him right here. I gave him his nose job. He wanted
those words.
Yeah, wow. Fire hot. Let me jam on that one. Yep. Twiddly diddly dee. I don't know what to say about that. So, top 10 list of things you do not say in an interview. He was starting to twitch. I knew he was going to die. He's very vain. He always wanted a nose job, so I gave him the nose job that he wanted. I've seen enough here to where I'm like, save the taxpayers' money, swing the damn gavel, case damn closed, okay. Now I get it, we all get our day in court, but these things that we see, that we discuss here in these other cases, I'm like, and again, one might be like, well, she's having a moment, she's in a psychotic break. How could you say that? Oh, we'll hear from people who talked to her when she wasn't having a psychotic break, when she was in her complete right mind and was very happy to have given this man the nose job he always wanted. But I digress. Let's continue. And in fact, let's watch a little bit of an unedited version. Remember that little singy, songy thing I was showing you? Well, get ready. Go on, put your dancing shoes on.
Thank you.
Now here she's going to start dancing. She's going to start doing some little stretchies and little dancing stuff. Now here we go into this next thing. She's getting her vocals warmed back up for her encore.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I had to bust out some damn Whitney and Mariah. I wish I had Hairbrush in here talking about. I mean, let's all put everything aside. She was carrying a tune. Okay, we'll give her that. Okay, we'll give Homegirl that. Now, here's the thing. So you saw this unedited version of what you saw first. I wanted to do this stuff first just so we could get some subtitles and isolate it, and then you see it play out. Look at the roller coaster we just went on that was maybe a minute? I mean, that's a minute, right? I'm like, oh my God. I would have been scared to have been in the same room. Imagine our cellmates, but guess what? We'll hear from them in a minute too. So, yeah. That is all sorts of unbalance. So in this, she's saying Amazing Grace, which, how appropriate. Then confessed, did some kind of little ballerina number. I mean, the material writes itself.
It was so painful to watch him die and to know that I had done that. That I just walked around the table and shot him where I knew he would die immediately. And fast.
Again, it's not looking good. It was so painful to watch him twitch. So I walked around the table, and I love how she does this. I shot him. I shot him. You know, I'm like, girl, please, you did not hold the gun. I shot him. Like, she's scared now, right? Of like what a gun might feel like. I shot him so he would die fast. You know, and I'm like, I mean, my God. The prosecutor ate this up, right? But again, she's telling herself, but also underneath that, you can see this other stuff going on. This is a very unbalanced person. Also a very evil person at the same time. Okay, now before we get to the clips of some of the highlights from the trial, from the testimony, as well as hearing from what people testified at the case and from cellmates, stuff like that, I want to look at an interview that she did, because it informs us a little bit of what was coming, as well as like, was this a publicity stunt, this kind of stuff. Okay, so awaiting this trial, she, meaning Shayna, hooks up with a transgender woman who goes by the name of Unique, and they decide to get married. Now, I'm giving you this context because this is what this interview is about. So basically what she did is she wrote a new, almost like a, you know how you write the news station, you're like, look, I tried to pay my electrical bill, but they cut me off like 5 times. I need, 5 Alive to come in and help me get results. Okay, that's what they're doing, right? And so that's what she's doing. She wrote to this news station to do this, and so they've come in to do this, but she's been like, look, I just want to talk about my issues in trying to marry Unique, okay? We're not talking about Ryan. That's old news. That's the past. Okay, so that's what's going on. I just want to give context. Now remember, at this point, she has already been convicted for what happened to Ryan. That has been overturned. She is going for technicality, so she is getting a new trial that she is going to be going up for. And in this new trial, she will eventually testify. We'll watch them out in a minute. So we're getting ready to watch clips from this interview. Let the damn tape roll.
How are you today?
I'm all right. How are you, sir?
Can't complain.
What's your name?
Craig McKee.
Okay.
I wrote you back. You may not have received either. I don't know.
Can you tell me what the letter says?
I don't know how the mail
I haven't received it yet.
came through, or how often it comes through when I send
What
it back.
did you say?
I just acknowledged that I received your letter and that I was reaching out to request this, and here we are.
Okay.
A lot going on there. Now, I just want to say this. First of all, clearly medication. Which I'm not shaming her for any of this. We're laying the foundation. The eyes, the cleaning, probably nervousness, but also the most important thing here that I noticed the franticness. What did you say? The desperation in her voice. Now she's probably, and again, I don't know this. This is just me thinking this. She's probably nervous to be like, because remember, she's like, we can only talk about this subject matter. So all she's knowing is that this reporter has shown up. So she's willing to make sure that it's about what she wants to talk about, not about Ryan. So I'll give her that much, right? But that desperateness, and the second time she asks, what did you say? Imagine Ryan telling her, I don't want to be with you. One time's enough. Imagine the second time. Imagine the third time. Imagine that. Imagine telling that person that. And you can see how that probably went. Okay, let's keep watching.
So,
before we start, I would just like to ask if we could stick to the topic of what I wrote you about and not my case, not my court case.
all right.
Okay.
I will say that we're going to talk about what you wrote about.
Okay.
And obviously, as a journalist, I have to ask certain things. You can reply however you want to reply.
Okay.
But there's no way I could go back,
Okay.
Being in this profession by doing that.
Again, I wanted to show this clip, and that's why I said the thing I did at the beginning, just to give everybody some context here of why, what this is. It's like right beneath, it's like she can barely keep the surface facade together. There is this brokenness right beneath that. And again, I'm not saying any of this to excuse away what she did to poor Ryan, right? At all. I think she's right where she belongs, to be quite honest. But it's just fascinating to sit here and be like, oh, wow. I mean, there's so much going on. And when we hear from other people later where they'll describe this Jekyll and Hyde, and obviously one of those personalities is capable enough of doing what they did to Ryan.
Why did you write in here, and you and Unique both put in here that you were only reaching out to 9 on Your Side? Why was that?
We feel that 9 on Your Side has the courage to report our story fairly, and we appreciate that.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, all this part right here, I was like, damn. I mean, they took it to the damn troubleshooter. Okay, I was like, there's no shame, right? And their game, they're like, look, or it's mainly her, right? Because I'm sitting here, I'm like, girl, you are up in county jail. First of all, been sent in jail, according to her, for 6 years. Hasn't even been able to go off to the big house, right? Can you imagine what a miserable experience this is? Number one, been convicted of what she did to Ryan. Gonna have the balls. Let's not even get into the fact that she's trying to get married, all that. Like, everyone's gonna have their opinion on that, right? Let's just talk about the fact that she's gonna have the balls to sit here and be like, I don't want to talk about that. Don't want to talk about that. Pretend that I'm just like a normal citizen right now, up in stripes, having this conversation. I'm like, but again, this is like in her world where she can compartmentalize things. And we'll hear from people that talk about this, like cellmates who are like, she'll be on the phone crying with her mom and screaming, hang up and be completely normal and completely laughing and joking like that never happened, like she turned a switch off immediately. And this in her world is like, well, no, that's completely different. I mean, I guess it is, but it's just like, wow. So anyways, let's keep watching.
In us telling this story, are you hoping that either jurors or officials in this county think differently about you? I mean, what's the takeaway?
I'm not hoping that anyone thinks any differently of me. I'm just hoping that this ensures my right, my First Amendment right to marry under the U.S. Constitution. That's all.
So that's all she's trying to do, right? I would have kept a low profile. Why? And here's the thing. She's going to talk in a minute about, we can't get a fair trial, blah, 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 blah. Why in God's name would you be out there doing this then in such a public manner? No. Why would you be doing that? What else could it be but that? I would keep a low profile, get the no trial over with, and then talk about this. But I mean, she probably doesn't have anything else to do.
The big question tied to your letter, it appears that you've fallen in love.
Yes.
God knows. I mean, God bless the person. God bless them.
How did that happen?
I can only describe it as like a spiritual encounter that I had with another person that I met here a couple years ago that I grew to know over the years.
Well, at least she can't have access to the person. God knows if it went down south, right? We've seen how that happened already for Ryan.
I feel as if I've already been retaliated against. So.
Even if it's only been 7 days?
Yes.
I mean, do you have confirmation they received your request?
No, I do not. I feel as if I've been retaliated against at the actual institution, at the jail, because the jailer was contacted by Richard McBee, Unique Taylor, about our marriage. And within hours of his request to the jailer, letting the jailer know what was going on and that he didn't want any type of retaliation, I I was moved to a different cell, and all of my legal documents for my court case were taken from me, and they were taken to the administration office on the other side of the jail.
Now, according to the reporter, you heard him, it's only been 7 days, and she's like, yes, you know. She's like, I feel like I've been retaliated against by the jail. Now, again, I don't know how this works and how this exactly goes down, but, you know, oh, I was packed up and moved and all my stuff was taken out and blah, 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 blah. You know, I mean, I don't know, again, how they were housed and this, that, and the other, if they were anywhere near each other in the same unit, that kind of a thing, but I don't know, right? I don't know. But again, this right here, it's like you fill out this request to do this. I mean, all this happening so quickly, but can you imagine being the journalist, like this News 5, whatever, and getting a thing from her talking about this, like, we need the damn troubleshooter up in, you know, cell block 5. You know, of course they're going to jump on that. She's headline news. I mean, come on. It blows my mind.
And they have not been given back to me. They were seized, and I feel as if our constitutional First Amendment right to marry, because Unique is biologically a male and I'm a woman, are being violated, and we're being retaliated against due to my high profile case and, you know, my name in Cincinnati and Unique's status as a transgender woman. Also, Unique has not been retaliated against because Unique just won a federal appeal for retaliation against the jail. So Unique's not being retaliated against. No one has hurt Unique or gone into Unique's cell and done anything to Unique, but I was retaliated against.
So now she wants her own lawsuit. I'm just like, there's so much going on. I mean, literally all the stuff she just described, I'm like, where do you find the time of the day? I mean, this is a damn inmate, right? With nothing but time in their hands. And I'm like, how do you make the time for all this? I mean, my God. You know, so Unique has this lawsuit going on, a federal appeal for retaliation for this, that, the other. Now, again, I'm not trying to sit here and say that corruption doesn't go on in some of these facilities. God knows we follow this stuff, right? We've seen this happen. But oh my gosh, this is exhausting sounding.
Did you meet in the commissary? I mean, I don't know how you meet each other whenever you're in a facility like this. Is it, you know, during lunch and you bumped into each other and then that's how often you get to see each other, or how does that work?
I originally met McBee 2 years ago when I was taken to a recreation yard that was next to Unique cell. And we just began talking, and that was how it happened.
I wanted to put that in there because I was so curious myself, so I figured y'all might be. Like, how the hell did these two people meet, right? Because I'm like, how did this even happen to begin with? So, well, there's her answer.
If I can, going back, because we did talk about whether or not you could have a fair trial, your attorney actually said the news coverage had painted a negative image of you and had destroyed the presumption of innocence.
I do believe that. And I do believe that there's been incredibly negative media coverage about me in Cincinnati and in the United States and internationally. But
I mean, the media coverage is tied to what was said in court and the evidence
Correct.
presented on both sides.
Correct, but I still feel like the media coverage has been biased against me. And I feel like it's going to be very hard for me to receive a fair trial in this area.
I mean, she thinks she's a damn international star. Loves the attention. Loves the attention, right? Again, from her, it's going to be very hard to receive a fair trial. Why in God's name are you doing this then? That's my thing that doesn't. It doesn't make sense to me.
Is there ever a point that you have thought since 2012 and you say, if I could turn back the clock, I would just walk out of the condominium and I would leave?
I don't want to talk about my case with you. I'm not here to talk about the nature of my case or what happened on October 12th. I was here for a different reason today, and that was to address my marriage to Mr. McBee.
Have you ever had any moments of remorse or the sense of apology just to Ryan Poston's family? Not going into specifics.
I'm not here to talk about any of that. I'm here to talk about another issue at hand.
You know, I 100% get anybody would have the same answer, right? You're getting ready to go to trial for this, the whole 9 yards. But this is where I, again, come back to, girl, you're sitting up in stripes. talking about this, getting ready to go to trial. Talking about, I'm here to talk about my marriage. No, this is absolutely insane.
So how have you changed? You referenced that you're much older now and that you've changed. So how have you changed? How are you different than October 2012?
I think I've grown up a lot, and I think I've been through a lot, and I think I was a young girl then, and I think I'm a woman now, and I think that.
Do you think you would handle situations differently now then?
Yeah, I think I would handle things differently now as a 27-year-old than I did as a 21-year-old. And also, I believe that Unique has regard for another person's feelings and would never hurt me first to begin with.
Okay, this part I found very interesting because that last statement she made, would never hurt me first. Would never hurt me first. So that's a jab at Ryan. Okay, 100%, right? That was her way of sneaking that in there. She's still bitter and probably would spit on his grave, right?
So you don't know if there are any plans to change any of that at this point?
Plans to change?
You taking the stand then during this trial?
I'll leave that up to. I'll make that a surprise. We'll put that into surprise.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and a surprise it is going to be. Go ahead and buckle your sofa seatbelts up, everybody, because this is getting ready to get rocky.
He would pick on me and belittle me and bully me in front of strangers. And it could be for something as small as how I was eating my food.
Oh yes, the old picking on her for how she ate her food. But let's go ahead and get on into the nuts and bolts of what, she's claimed to have happen.
I recall Ryan standing over me and grabbing the gun that was sitting on the table and pointing it at me and saying, I could just kill you right now and get away with it. And I grabbed the gun and I shot him.
Now, first of all, his poor father. I mean, can you imagine being the parents of these victims that we hear about and watch in these cases, sitting through these, hearings, proceedings, listening to their perpetrators lie about, what happened. It's gut-wrenching. Notice how she has to pause during this too, to kind of collect her thoughts, to be like, where do I go next? Let me get things straight. Like, I was crying. I was hysterically crying. He was saying hurtful things, and so I just shot him. And I'm just like, yeah, that's no, girl. But again, keep that story in mind, keep that in mind, because here in a few more clips, we're going to be getting to another side of the coin, okay?
That's not the same as what you testified to here about being bent over a stool and feeling because of the weight of him, your neck was going to break. That's two totally different scenarios, right?
I was describing the same scenario using different words, and I didn't have the accurate words at the time to describe it. I was in a state of shock.
Now, what this is in reference to is the interrogation where she's talking about her face and like he had me by like my face, okay? And whatnot. So again, this is a genius trying to tell us she did not have the right verbiage to describe this and literally has this entirely different story for what went down now that she's taking the stand and pivoting this into she was actually the victim. Now, let's go ahead and get back into the other side of the coin here, and let's start off with some testimony from other people. And y'all, some of this, I know it burnt her damn biscuits. And let's start with the one that when I say it cooked her grits, when this young lady got up there, she was punching damn air.
We reconnected through Facebook, and then we started texting back and forth, and then planned a date to meet up.
Woo, and she was up there all bubbly too. Shayna was she would have come up over the damn counter if she could, right? But now also let's listen to literally just a third party and how out there Shayna was with her intentions as to what she was going to do. This one's a little bit of a shocker.
October 12th, 2012. Were there any particularly noteworthy patrons or anybody who came to the makeup counter?
We had a girl who was visibly very upset, and she came in to see her friend Sam,
and she was just very upset and kind of crying, and we all wanted to kind of help her and calm her down.
Did you learn by listening what that individual was upset about?
She found out her boyfriend was seeing somebody else. She was just very, very upset, and she was kind of saying how she was going to kill him multiple times.
Ooh, Mama Gemma. Yeah, wow, fire hot. So, you see, she has a habit of just going out and basically telling everybody what she's going to do, right? Poor Ryan. I mean, poor Ryan. So, here, the makeup counter girl hears this going down. She was very upset. Her boyfriend she found out her boyfriend was cheating on her. Honey, he wasn't your boyfriend. First things first. That was not your man. Okay, let's just call it what it is. Now, also, and these other shows and other things that I've seen here, he had tried blocking her phone number. I mean, he had gone to great lengths. This girl was off the damn charts. Okay, point blank, period. There was no damn escaping it. And now for our little finale here, let's go right to the meat and potatoes of some of the testimony that would seal the deal. And let's look at a couple of clips from one of our sauciest favorite shows, Cellmate Secrets, and let's hear how Shayna was in incarceration leading up to this, and let's maybe get a glimpse into what really happened that night via former cellmates.
It's like, man, girl, what'd you do? What happened? And so she was like, well, I shot my boyfriend. I said, did you kill him? She goes, yeah. She goes, I shot him in the face. I gave him those job he always wanted. And she cackled. She was like, and just said this cackle, and it just went right through him.
Sounds like a bit of a familiar story. And the cackle thing, I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, literally, I'm just like, I'm buying it. What else do you have to service, girl?
She would get angry at the fact that Ryan didn't want to be with her anymore. She thought that nobody could leave her. Nobody could live without her.
I believe Shannon just knew it was over. That this was the last straw. He was done with her, and you're out of here. And she wasn't having that. You don't turn your back and say no to her.
And again, I think that this is exactly what went down. I think that Miss Ohio was the breaking point, right? It was official. Here's this other young, beautiful girl. He's going out with her. She's done, right? He's going out with this other girl. Now, she found out about Miss Ohio from snooping through his damn phone, right? So she's showing up unannounced. Now, remember how I said, remember the story, remember the story, remember the story. Let's just flip back real quick, like just a little refresher. Hear from her on the stand before we watch the last clip.
I recall Ryan standing over me and grabbing the gun that was sitting on the table and pointing it at me and saying, I could just kill you right now and get away with it. Nobody would even know.
All right, so keep that in mind as we venture into the grand finale.
She just wanted to kind of come clean with what happened the night she murdered Ryan.
She was sitting, across the table from him. He was on his phone, and she was just sitting there, and he took his gun off of his hip and put it on the table. She picked up the gun and said,
What would you do if I shot you?
He looked up and was like, Shayna, quit playing around, quit acting like that. She had never lowered the gun.
Okay, so now as you can imagine what happens next, she goes in to talk about how she begins the firing off and the continuing to finish the job off. Now I put things over the screen on that and didn't show the entire clip there because of, YouTube's new little algorithm. They don't want to show and stuff like that, and so I am trying to comply there. But the point being is this: notice the story that we're hearing from the cellmate. Literally, it's like Shayna took what she did and put it onto Ryan doing it to her. The whole thing, well, what would you do if I shot you? I mean, literally, like 100%, this is what she did. It's like she's telling us what she did, but she's blaming it on Ryan, and it sends chills down my spine. And it also breaks my heart for not only Ryan, but also his family and his friends, right? This was doomed from the beginning, okay? I mean, oh my gosh. So, now, that being said, Little Miss Thing, she went back to trial. She lost, as you can imagine, and got a life sentence this time. I'm not crying for her. And that marriage you might be asking about, well, it happened and they've already gotten divorced. So I'm just like, after all that, it wasn't real love after all. So, but probably good for Unique because God only knows. Clearly she ain't getting out anytime soon and doesn't need to get out anytime soon, because I do believe that this would happen to someone else. This is just a very unhinged, unwell human being who probably is not used to hearing no, and clearly wasn't going to hear it from Ryan in this case. Now, if you're still watching, drop some hearts down in the comment section for Ryan, as well as his family and friends and all the other victims that we talk about here at the sofa. I do appreciate you hanging out for me for this time, and until we meet back at the sofa and the computer, I'll see y'all soon.